This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Start Podcast. And before we start the show, I'd like to say that thank you for the support you have gave us thus far, making this site where it is today. But to keep this going, we need a bit of help. As much as we love, going to conventions and, talking about games and the podcast and everything we do, some of this stuff isn't easy for us to do. So we have a Patreon page you guys should check out. On our Patreon page, we have multiple tiers of rewards, goals, and other goodies you can get, including getting these like this podcast early in the week, right when the podcast ends. There's also rewards as to being in the podcast with us, early access to videos and photos, and much more. But just want to let you know that we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/missionstartpodcast. Definitely check it out, guys. Share the love, and we'll show you some love. This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Start Podcast. And before we start the show, I'd like to say that thank you today. But to keep this going, we need a bit of help. As much as we love, going to conventions and, talking about games to do. So we have a Patreon page you guys should check out. On our Patreon page, we have multiple tiers of rewards like this podcast early in the week, right when the podcast ends. There's also rewards as to being in the podcast, and much more. But just want to let you know that we have a Patreon page at patreon.com/missionstartpodcast. Definitely check it out, guys. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Start Podcast. We have an episode of the didn't really attend Katsucon this past weekend. Somebody else did, and that somebody else is Bart.
Have me here, Anthony. It's a pleasure to always be here with your show.
Oh yeah, not a problem. So you
Well, on our website we do have our coverage from last year's Katsucon, so this is definitely our second gig. Only this time, this a vacation where we felt that it was time to actually go back to having a good time at a con without the need of doing a lot of coverage. But we felt that, once in a while, it's good to actually just take a break from all of that, just enjoy the con for what it's offering and everything in between. Why not? Let's just go have fun.
And something that I said to you prior, I have not experienced that yet. So, average city when it comes to conventions. But no, that's good. That's really awesome. So taking it in that perspective, it's much more as another con goer. How was that experience like versus what's usually?
Or try to keep it from an attendee standpoint, while at the same time covering most events that typical con goers would like to go to, such as panel, like to do different things, and for us to cover all of those aspects. What you would have to do is you'd have to really buckle down to each fans. They like to pick and choose which ones they would like to do for an entire weekend. In this case, I wanted to enjoy, wearing a costume, like big name panels that I typically like to go to for coverage. So, as mentioned, to each of their own. Everyone has their own role. For me personally, it was a good way to kind of just relax from having to deal with the stress of trying to get every little detail of a convention.
Okay. Taking that approach is very different than what we're normally used to. But no, that's really cool. I mean, like, I think eventually, yes, does help tremendously.
Because, when we work, sometimes we get under stress or we're jumping from place to place and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Us personally, because this year we're having a more of a less coverage year since I myself, and it's taken me an entire month of traveling from the north to the south. Tokyo's not on my itinerary. That will be for another trip. Japan, just how everything comes to be. As many of us know, most anime that we watch, creators, artists, everything you see is definitely a real life place. Places like Sailor Moon, Tenchi Muyo, Kyoto, Edo Times. Those are places that I want to go to and experience.
Right, definitely. So when you were there this year, as an attendee, what were the things you went and checked out? What were some of the things you mindset?
So my mindset was to get to know the crowd, the local scenes. As mentioned, East Coast conventions, different styles of costumes. As I probably may have mentioned previously in a podcast, the East Coast tends to have just follow trends. That's the one dominant thing that I noticed between the two sides of the coast. So for me personally, it gave me an opportunity, pretty much the AX A game cosplay scene, where people bring their best costumes, walk around the gazebo area. Resort is set up. There's a lot of places to take photographs, and at the same time, you get to mingle with different people from just different parts of the country. Mingle amongst the local scenes and people who came from even out of the country. While at the same time getting an opportunity to more explore the comics. For me personally, I only attended one panel, which was funny enough, the Hate Cards Against Humanity panel. Had up something funny at the same time. The hosts were very gracious. They were very fun. They were very funny. They made up these new rules where it was kind of funny.
Nice.
Just things like that, make a huge difference.
Okay. So with your Katsucon, so are you saying that every 5 steps you took was literally like a cosplayer, which like had like at least like a
Definitely, I would definitely say that with this type of venue, it's probably going to be one of those places where you're definitely going to cons like such as Anime Boston or Otakon and Boston Comic Con I went to several years ago. I'm seeing that there's a lot more extravagant costumes that you probably only see at AX in our side of the coast.
I see. Okay. That's cool. I'm on favor of like having an open-ended thing. Like I totally agree. Like what anime is like trending and which do we all want to cosplay as, which is a good and a bad thing. But I prefer like that's great to hear.
Most definitely, that's the one thing I like to look forward to when I go to new conventions. I want to see if there's a lot more variety in costume. How eye-catchy they are as far as like construction-wise. So like when I say eye-catchy in my terms, I'm thinking I'm walking around as oh my goodness, he's one of Agumon's Digivolves.
Oh.
Stuff was a Wargreymon at that time. As mentioned, I didn't have my camera, wasn't doing coverage, and I was just wow, it's a Wargreymon. That's not something you see every day.
So while you were there, what was the general vibe of the what was the general vibe, the word on the street, if you will, during the convention?
I would definitely have to say, like, it's a great atmosphere. It's a great. I would follow the same vibe, and the atmosphere would probably have to be Dragon Con style. I would probably like. You get a lot of nice people, great costumes that come around. Last year, which unfortunately I did not see this person at Katsucon. Last year. And
nice.
Unfortunately, it was not spotted this year, or they probably were there, but I probably getting a chance to mingle with different people, seen friends I hadn't seen in a while on the East Coast. So I can definitely say that
the Dragon Con of anime conventions that's very, very high praise to put out there. And wow, when you were there, now since you were going as an attendee, like what was the general price like to get in for
VIP package, which was an additional $100 on top of a $60 general badge. VIP guests are given most VIP autograph sessions with any of your guest of honors that you wish to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I had. It's not that I don't want to say it's a waste of money, but for me personally, if I give a con done, if they're worth it, if it's really good, I would definitely say, support the con for everything it's got. So even myself as press, I do love these cons a lot. I think it's time to return to, supporting them by, giving out my payments to them as a contribution long run, so that way, they keep on going, get better each year, and of course, bring in more guests to their shows.
Oh yeah, definitely. The price wise, in Katsucon was a 3-day con.
3-day convention.
Okay, so for $60, that's then you shit for $60 for that's huge, and how awesome Katsucon, from what I've heard, it really is. I think that depending on what they offer, it could be definitely worth it for sure.
Well, definitely, because as mentioned, the VIP press, came with to be that type of person who wants to be who really wants to get those, those special autographs that are going to be long lines. And
I can imagine somebody like getting the VIP press and just going straight into the front of the line and just like a pimp, just flashing.
and you see all the regular attendees just glaring at you as you're it's like, oh, we're gonna jump this guy. Definitely, like, that sort of mentality you will definitely not see so far at this con. They have their dedicated line. Far, like, from what I've noticed, it doesn't seem like anyone turns an eyebrow or kind of looks down upon different people, because everybody has celebrities or get early access to certain panels, but to each of their own.
Right, definitely. So speaking of registration process for this year's Katsucon.
So from my personal badge registration, we had you show them your ID, they look you up, and then they print you out your badge. You get your grab bag and your goodies with the booklet and free t-shirt. That Katsucon has a notorious long line due to the amount of space that they must utilize.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they're in the Washington, D.C. They know winter is no joke out there. You're looking at 20 degrees, 10 degrees, sometimes even negatives. So Katsucon is crowded really fast. Okay, and their check-in system, as far as I'm aware of, if I recall last year, generally what they do is they look up your name, and then they see your name, they give you your badge, and then you write your name on the badge, proof of purchase or your ID. They'll look you up, and then they'll give you your badge, you write your name, and off to the races you go. From what I've heard from recall, would be approximately 2 to 3 hours on average.
Wow, that is nuts. It makes total sense in terms of saying that it is very cold right now for Washington D.C. And having registration 2-3 hours. Now, I mean, I would say that's not quite, but
it's
still
there because we remember back at FanimeCon, the ever so infamous line con that everyone remembers, Anime Expo that we know had their fair share of line con. I recall from several people who I stayed with over prior to getting their current registration format, which is the QR code, which Fanime finally adopted. We're not sure why Katsucon still continues this process that they have right now, which we don't know if it's due to it's hard to really say, or if it's something that they can't really fix, because given the nature of how cold it gets during the wintertime in Washington D.C. I recall when I was in my hotel room, we had a view of the atrium. When you look down towards the atrium, you could see the line like spewing into the atrium area, actual hallway where it zigzagged, and then you have the convention hallway where it zigzagged again. Into the you have approximately maybe 20 to 25,000 people, coming in, or in this, coming in on the very first day. You're definitely going to get a long line, and you got to figure out how you're going to keep these people indoors without having to have to.
So that was my next question I was going to ask. It's like, so with these long lines at Katsucon that last 2-3 hours, did the line extend?
They definitely try to keep everything inside. I did notice that. So, as mentioned, it gets really cold in DC around this time of the year. There's con where it's going to be a 50% chance where it'll have a blizzard outside. And that's when a lot of people who are traveling will either have their flights. So it's definitely one of those conventions where they want to keep everybody indoors without the need of having them standing under the cold.
I see. Speaking of cold, now there was an incident that forced everybody out of the convention center into the area at the time. And that incident was the fire alarm incident, or the fire that happened in the I've heard it was the Maid Cafe kitchen, or
oh my goodness, I've heard it all. It was a Maid Cafe, it was a hotel room, it was a electrical fire inside the hotel kitchen within the hotel area. Yes, many people, when the initial alarm, go figure. There's always going to be some idiot that does such a thing. But we noticed that the hotel staff, along with con staff, were trying to get people, even when I myself was wondering, okay, this is real. This is not, this is not a drill. This is not a false alarm. This is real. So my side, slowly, we got outside. If I had to give an estimate, it was probably about maybe 18 degrees outside.
Woo!
Thin pants, freezing my butt off to death, but I was like, no, we got to get these people out of here. I noticed that and heard the fire trucks, saw the fire trucks come in. If I had to give a good count of how many trucks I saw, I would probably say there was maybe 5. Saw all the firefighters going in. I did, as the firefighters were coming in, I did hear people cheering, for the firefighters coming in, supports these first responders for, doing a dangerous job.
Mm-hmm.
I myself also took notice, as well as there was a lot of people freezing, cosplayers who were in, very little.
Oh, man, yeah.
Freezing. People were giving 20 minutes, give or take. I did see staff coming out with towels and passing them out to different cosplayers, while other attendees were just, helping keep warm. It was just an amazing thing to see. I was just, wow, these people really did come together. This is a by one. I myself was trying to guide people to, get into the parking garage while staff was doing the same thing. Shelter for warmth. I was just, I myself, as a former first responder, I had to take action and say, no, we're going to help these people. So I said, we got to get these people with their kids into a warmth area. Inside this parking garage, there was a little elevator lobby where, these youngsters or parents with their kids in their priority one. And if we see someone that has, really bad lack of clothing, don't have enough clothing, and people with kids, we got to get them in here. And it was amazing to see that the people we kept doing that, and I kept, guiding people to shelter, to the parking garage, the elevator lobby, if they needed to be warmed. It was just theirs to just get them to a safe spot, to just make sure that everybody was safe. Constaff said, okay, we gotta get these people, into a warm shelter. So they opened up the panel rooms for everybody to get inside the panel rooms to seek shelter, so that way they can keep warm. So it was pretty much like, into the parking garage, and then suddenly making their way into the convention center, slowly coming in. The staff were just saying, everybody stay together. It was just amazing. They handled it really well. The firefighters that were there handled, after the post that Katsucon said that, there was an incident. I saw like how many people were just, praising this very few people who are going to be, upset, like, oh, why did this happen? Or how could you let people go out into the cold? It's just, there's one thing I was listening to people who said, Katsucon did a horrible job, or why couldn't they find a better way to tell people, in the real world, in the perfect world, we would please get out. In the perfect world, we would love to have that. There was someone who posted this, is why didn't Katsucon send an email to people? He told, there's better things to deal with, than having to check people's phone numbers or emails to send out messages, because that's a lot of time and helping attendees get to a safe area, because it can't be physically done. And not only that, you're also the first responders in need in order to keep in touch with their fellow colleagues who are responding to these incidents. So something like that, where, quote, this is the 21st century. People have mobile phones. We should send message. Katsucon has all that information. They can make it happen, end quote. And as I've mentioned, my rebuttal to that is, there's better things to worry. Even these people don't have the information to begin with. I mean, in a perfect world, we would love to have all that information. But the truth is, we can't for the hotel workers, and, because this is what they train for. They're the ones who are trained for this, not people like have experiences who are either EMTs, firefighters, military, police, who are trained for this. They know automatically need guidance. And the best thing to do is to listen to those staff members, to those hotel workers, or firefighters, policemen that are there. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and look at my phone and expect a message to pop up after the fire alarm goes off. It doesn't work that way, because obviously everybody's okay. There's those very few people who go around tweeting first and not evacuating right away. I'm very glad that, the first responders came in at a very quick time, to summarize this video, time-lapse video that I created with my camera.
Oh, right. I forgot you got that, yeah.
Definitely. This lasted from
fire
alarm to the all clear. It was an amazing how fast this ended.
Uploaded.
Oh, definitely. And I also posted a screenshot of the said video of the when that video does come out, and I am working on it as we speak, not right now since we're doing this, but over the course of time, we are definitely going to go viral, once it goes out live.
Wow. Already, big words.
It is. This was a big deal to me, and I'm glad that not only did the hotel staff and the convention staff and the first responders together and helped one another. That is a sense of, brotherhood or sisterhood in this community that we all need. There's no such thing as, someone being better than others. We're all in this together. We have to help out one another when things like this happen. Is that this could happen, maybe at FanimeCon or Anime Expo, Anime Central. It can happen anywhere.
Yes. During your entire explanation of the events of the fire alarm, one is that's really cool, the fact that in the East you guys were bringing in people that were having less clothing on, like in the shelters, or the Katsucon staff were bringing into the panel rooms to keep warm. In the West Coast, that will never happen. They will get them out of the convention for sure, but like if it's like in all of the severity, you probably won't see that as well put as you did for Katsucon. And that's good stuff though. So everybody in the East Coast, cosplayer or staff wise, to do it for sure. The second thing that came to mind, and it inform people of such emergencies, and it is a lot of resources to take up. But if you look at majority of the con goers or majority of the people who do go, and this is like ages like around like teenage, like is on their phone at some point or is checking something or taking selfies. So the idea like that, like I understand it. One of the what do you call it? One of the apps, of a guidebook. It was like connected to the guidebook to where they tweet emergency, please evacuate, through the guidebook app, and it goes off. That's cool. But I understand mentality the next time for sure. And there was a third thing I was gonna say, but I totally forgot about it, honestly.
I definitely understand. Add on to that is not everyone has the ability to access their cell phones.
Oh, right. So,
because then you're eliminating it, or they don't have it because they're wearing a certain costume that doesn't allow pockets or a certain place to hold on to their mobile phones. That's oh, the staff is telling me to evacuate the place. Okay, I got to get out of here then. And not only that, it costs a lot of money to places like Guidebook. They're not programmed to that sort of like feat where it's an emergency broadcast, in their guidebook app itself, not strictly, for Katsucon, because guidebook only notifies you if there's a chain emergency. So that's a guidebook thing that they would have to do themselves, not the convention,
right? Because
that's out of their power. High price for that, and the price to do that alone would be something out of Katsucon's range. Issued by the government.
Mm-hmm.
They invested a lot of money into that, and that's not an easy task because they have to also make sure that the phone providers get their permission to broadcast something like that, and that's not something Katsucon's willing to put in there. So the best that they evacuate the people right away. We got to do this right. We're gonna have to do it right away because Katsucon has no control over how getting people out of here. Katsucon has to abide by that because it's their property. The property people have the final say when it comes to, telling people to go outside. You got to realize Katsucon is renting this property.
Yeah.
The hotel has final say, regardless.
Definitely. Well, how was the cell phone reception there, or like, cause like, in terms of like, if of the idea that was brought up to you, was the reception there pretty okay, or like what was it there at the inside the convention center and outside the convention center?
Utilize the cell phone, but when you're talking about 20,000 people in a convention center and everyone is using their phone, you're definitely log on to Facebook or tweet, send photos to your Facebooks and Twitters, your Tumblrs. So going back, that's the mobile handles so much when there's so many people. It's just like when you go to like a sporting event, when you have 50,000 people, taking photographs, networks are going to be, jammed up to their full capacity. So you're definitely going to experience some slow, uploads or downloads. It'll go straight to voicemail, or later on in the evening, you get a text message that was sent, hours ago. So, as mentioned.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I figured that like I'm someone to guess like around like maybe a 2 at Katsucon when it comes to reception. Like not going on the Wi-Fi, but just like going on data alone. If you have good data.
As mentioned, when you're having people logging onto a Wi-Fi network, the Wi-Fi network can only handle so much.
Oh yeah, definitely. You're better off using just data alone when you go to conventions because like everybody's gonna be on that Wi-Fi.
Well, definitely. It doesn't. It seems like because depending on what network you have, each network will be different from one another.
Yep, definitely. Handled pretty well in that. Everything was everything's handled pretty well, and I like the fact that people out there in the East Coast. That's good.
It's definitely, and I hope that people at other conventions, will learn from what happened at Katsucon. To them, you got to remember, like, this is what happens, when we least expect it, and we have to be ready to, take the initiative to us, for everyone listening, just be aware that this could happen at any time, and it could be when we least expect it. So know that when it's best to help out one another because anything could happen. For all we know, that fire could have gotten worse, but thank God it didn't.
Here, hopefully, this will not go on deaf ears, and hopefully, Katsucon shout outs if you retweet this out later on.
It was great work from everybody. Everyone did a wonderful job.
Mm-hmm.
I was very happy to be a part of, helping out people, in my 12 years of attending conventions, this was definitely, going to be something that's going to stick to my...
It was finally settled down, and they were letting people back into the convention. Just like, all right, well, that happened. Let's go do that thing. Or, like, was it just like a gradual... Like...
Well, they definitely just resumed everything as if nothing happened. So, everyone moved on. They returned to, their gathering. So everyone just said, all right, let's go back to what we were doing.
Cool.
No one seemed to be, scared or terrified and every time.
So what was the first thing you did when you get back to the convention center?
Was looking for my roommates. Was looking for them to make sure that, okay, so we all got together, we made sure everyone was all right. After I made sure that, I went to a couple of gatherings that I really was looking forward to and everything in between. So, it was just business as usual.
Cool. Kind of said earlier you attended the one panel you managed to get to was the Cards Against Humanity panel. Who was involved in that panel?
So this panel took place on Friday night. It was after well, let me rephrase that. We went inside. I met a lot of different people. We sat on like these tables. These two people were like, okay, I don't think everyone needs an introduction about this panel. It was just going to be, okay, so these people around you, you're going to be playing Cards Against Humanity against them tonight. So start making friends, blah, 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 everything in between. Playing Cards Against Humanity. I met a lot of nice people there that night. We talked to each other, asked where everybody was from. Katsucon for years on end. And then that, all the crude jokes that we made during the gaming session.
Nice.
If you win with a certain card, you have to do like, you have to sing a song, which I was like, oh my goodness, I hope I don't win this card. Very fun. It was a 2.5 hour long panel, but I didn't stay there for the whole thing. I left early because I was getting tired, so I arrived on Thursday morning a little exhausted, so it was kind of catching up a little bit. So
I hear ya.
Actually.
That's worse.
Yeah.
Damn.
I do it for. I took Wednesday off, taking people's advice to come in on Wednesday, so that way I could keep Blizzard and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
Otakon, I did just Anime Boston, Otakon both years, and Katsucon this year.
Nice. Awesome. I always enjoy like panels that everybody gets together and just have fun, regardless if it's watching people play Cards Against Humanity or being part of it. Speaking of After Dark, like what was there a curfew to Katsucon? Because I've never been, but I've always been curious. Mention stays open, or is it one of those 24-hour conventions like Fanime?
So it's not really a event, and panels last until 4 a.m.
Wow.
So then they'll shut down for a couple of hours, and then they'll reopen the next.
Okay.
And occasionally you'll spot like the game room opening at 8 o'clock. So it's not really 24/7 con. As either they're mingling with people or they're getting up really early or anything of that nature. So, it's definitely
Okay, that's cool. That's pretty awesome. Um, I'm gonna be the guy that's always is gonna be in favor of 24 go to a panel at like 3 in the morning or go watch like anime. But no, that's cool. I mean, like definitely, uh, you know, um, so out of curiosity, like we described some of the things you ever do, other rooms or other areas in Katsucon, namely, specifically like the dealer's hall, the game room.
a chance to see the game room.
Mm-hmm.
Very small game room, or I would probably say like a medium-sized game room. Not as big as Fanime's game room. I could probably say that this game room had both the standard gaming consoles, PC stations. They had several pinball machines against the walls, mostly old school pinballs. That was really nice to see.
Sick.
They have them in their rows. It felt like this artist alley was definitely the same artist alley, format as very, very long, probably a good, maybe four to dealer's room size. Will probably be as big as the same size as FanimeCon. Have your typical, you have your vendors like Funimation, the standard, other conventions that are in the vicinity, local. You have your cosplay guilds like Rebel Legion, 501st.
Nice.
Merchants are just, your local merchants of anime stores from different places within the East Coast region. So I definitely had trades, dances, big name panels, and everything in between. Fairly good size. I would probably say like the size would be that. I don't recall what the largest panel room they had there since it's been a while since I went to AX.
Right. I'm trying to remember too, like what is their biggest panel? When it came to Masquerades for AX, it's held in a different building altogether. Yeah, I honestly wouldn't know, but that's still pretty impressive though. So the other thing I wanted to ask was like, while you were there, I mean, the money wise, I'm not quite sure. Particular thing you bought at Katsucon, either via an RP or something from the dealer's hall that you brought with you.
I don't need it. I don't buy it. But if there's something that I do spot, I would probably say, prices, the typical dealer's room prices that you would most retails or what you find on eBay. So probably like, average, just prices that you would know as much as I do. It's really hard to really throw out there. But if I had to give it like, average amount for like, I would probably be around, 70 to 80, give or take. For of course, the large ones, the big arts and everything in between. Mm-hmm. Posters, plushies, 10 to 15, depending on the size, value, and everything in between. So, it's really hard to say what would be a good price range for those guys because, like, I really need it or anything in that sort of nature.
I hear ya. It's funny because, like, I'm kind of been going the same way. Like, I have stopped either figurines or, like, model kits. Those two, and then, like, I would buy, like, a lot of art. Those are the three things I got. I just, like, would buy almost everything at a dealer's hall when I was younger and had a lot of money. So, that's cool. So you were there for the whole 9 yards or the whole 3 days where you're there. And like, what was your kind of convention moment? Because, at conventions, like, we always see and laugh and sometimes weird out. That was a convention moment. So, did that happen to you during your time at Katsucon?
Ooh, that's a very good. If I had to give a realistic answer, it would be meeting my friends in the Final Fantasy IX group that, fantasy game of all time. Myself and a couple of close friends who love Final Fantasy IX, we were able to mingle with different Final Fantasy IX, how much we love it, what it means to us, talking about different things about it. We exchanged information to keep in touch with everyone. That would be definitely my favorite con moment. So I got to give it out to my good friends Sarah and Nick, who I met, and my friend Sarah, who was dressed up as Kuja back at Anime Central last year. Those two guys, we definitely love our 9 cosplayers, as I mentioned before. It was just a great experience to chat with those guys again and just meeting new people on top of that.
And this is very timely. It is this podcast I'm going to say is that internet and it has
Oh
caught the
my
eye
goodness.
of a lot of people.
I know where this is going already.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, property damage done to one of the hotels, might be one of the hotels we connected to the convention.
It's definitely the hotel. The Gaylord National Resort is a hotel slash convention center connected as one.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and hotel, but they're across the street from the hotel. I know exactly what you're talking about too, but the images are definitely
About that. So yeah, these images were popped up, and there were property damage in the hotel that consisted of a tier. As funny as I say that, but it's not really in this case. There was a exit sign that was like literally there was like a huge water puddle in front of one of the hotel rooms. There was a lot of mess. There was a lot of stuff that were above. This type of behavior, happened at Katsucon, and for the most part, everybody's reaction is like, "This should not happen," or it's giving us a bad rep, which are all true. So my question to you is, con, or was this like an after thing that you found out when you got back home? It's like, oh wow, that happened.
Well, I can definitely tell you this for a fact. I did see grass, but I did see like vomit, marks on the floor when I was walking back to my hotel room. And I was just like, oh my goodness, twisted. It's also on my floor too. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is bad. This is just terrible. And out there that have experienced, these type of issues, and we all know one in particular back here in California at this venue would be Anime Los Angeles, where the Marriott at LAX did not want to undergo, and the con had to cover. That's the reason why they moved. It just goes to show you that there's a lot to destroy property, whether it's intentional or unintentional, which comes with a lot of people drinking at con back, saying that alcohol consumption at these conventions are real, and there's a lot of people, and they feel that they need to kind of let out that you could see in those photographs. That's just prime example of what people are capable of when they're under the influence. So there's people out there that are doing this kind of stuff. It really does make the convention look bad, and it's gonna get to the point where the mayor had said, no, we're done. You're no longer welcome here. Please move. This is a good warning to everyone, that because if you or your colleagues go overboard and you get excited about that's gonna look bad on the con, and you don't want that to happen, because then the venue will be forced to say, we're done with you guys, please leave. Now, when that convention is forced to move elsewhere, of course, a lot of people are not going to be too thrilled about that. And no one is going to be at the venue that you like. Don't destroy the property. And, always be aware of your alcohol consumption. Stop it. Or if there's, someone in that room who looks out for you when you're getting drunk, they have to be the ones to...
Yeah, I think there has been questions and people were talking about like what can we do, and we as in the commission's like what do we need to do in terms like to stop this or to prevent this, and there's been ideas thrown around and there's been conversation. Please, I like the fact that those images and everything that happened from Katsucon is blowing up and being spread like wildfire. Is taken over in terms of like what the actual convention is. People are saying that the reason why it's gone are just there for the parties. They're just there, not because they're planning the convention, but because they've heard that there's some really great parties. You can keep it to where it's where you're not doing dumb stuff like when you're totally intoxicated and drunk. What I will crack down on, and it's maybe something where it may be just like the scene itself needs to self-police, or maybe, and a lot of people like crack down on minors drinking, because like for people who don't know, a lot of minors in leaving your kid at a convention and saying like, oh, have fun, not having anything to monitor them. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm just saying like it does happen. So like, and I enjoy the fact that these conversations are taking place. It's going to determine like what future conventions are going to plan to do with it. Maybe it's just all talk, but who knows? I mean, we have to wait and see. Anime? Yeah, anime convention wise, yeah.
Anime convention wise, yes, it'll definitely be FanimeCon. But there is and sci-fi comic book scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely has to do with maturity level. That's the dominant feature of both sides. More tolerable, and they know how to, stake their limits and not go overboard to the point where they're destroying property. What I heard that they were cracking down a lot on parties. So it was good to hear that the con was cracking down, along with the hotel staff cracking down on the party. Safe to assume that that convention got everything under control as far as how crazy and rambunctious the parties get, as far as who are going to start cracking down on these parties. As far as the community themselves on what they can do to prevent or kind of help hotel staff, get to the bottom of who did this. What you can do is, and then make a note of it, and then report it to con security and hotel security and say, hey, I noticed someone punched a wall or destroyed or I saw someone tear down the sign that was on this floor. Their room number is this and this. Because that's where I'm going to. That was the last. This is what you witnessed, and you know where the person went, last saw. Give a good description of what the person looks like, so that way, the hotel.
No complaints here. So with that being said, because I needed to bring it up because that was the topic of the week. Thoughts on Katsucon? The pros, the cons, that stuff.
Well, the cons will definitely respect for the property. It's disheartening as a fan, to see these people, get rambunctious to the point where they feel jokesters who think it's funny to poke fun of it, which, remember, this is the venue that's being rented to you for your enjoyment. You're going to be forced to go to another venue where you'll probably not like it as much, or you're going to have next part, but just be forewarned that, whatever you think is, quote, a good thing, alcohol, there's going to be a lot of retaliation against that. Because, as you see in those images, they're very disheartening, this convention. So that would be my con for this convention. My pros, it's definitely, a whole mentality that I really enjoyed, seeing people getting together to help one another. The cold helped others. You guys did a wonderful job. You definitely are the reasons why, many of these people go to, you're caring about others. So you got to give it up to the fans. As mentioned, earlier in this podcast, the first responders just did a fantastic job in that time of emergency.
Okay. Awesome. Good stuff. So before we end the podcast,
as I said in previous podcasts, you guys can look us up at Team Misaki Studios on Facebook, and you can view our website at Team. That is who I work for. As mentioned, earlier this broadcast that, we're going to have a smaller schedule this year. Show convention coverage of the new year will be a small convention in Fresno, California called Anime Con, which is trying to, with the loss of Annie Jam, where, a great convention that was ran for many years in the Central California area. With health concerns, he had no choice but to put down the convention, and unfortunately there was nobody to take over that convention role due to finance. Stepped up their game from my last attendance last year, and this year they look very promising. So I'm happy to say that we're looking forward. We're looking forward to the new season. After that, we'll be returning to our favorite East Coast convention, Anime Boston, once again in March. Before that, we will be attending a new convention in San Jose, California, known as Silicon Valley Comic Con. They have a huge return of the Back to the Future cast with 3 main characters that we all grew up and love. So,
thank you, Bart, for joining me for this podcast. And you can follow. I can't talk today. You can follow.
Trust me when I say this. My return back to California was not a fun one either. So, Blizzard came. The part originally was supposed to leave Dulles Airport, which is on the other side of Washington D.C. in Virginia. Approximately, which was not too bad, but it was definitely snowing. So, and then to be told that, oh, your flight's been delayed due to mechanical failure, I was like, oh, Delta on this one, because they were able to catch me on another flight back to San Francisco, and also with a earlier return time to get me another flight where I would be leaving at 2 o'clock, the same time as the delay, but at least I wouldn't have to be spending 3 hours that day. But there was a minor delay with my flight again, but they were able to get me off the ground, approximately 45 before they got crazier. That's for sure.
Sick. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
Most certainly.
So, Arto, you can follow the work that I do and this podcast on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. In the podcast, since it is, let's see, the 19th. The upcoming conventions we plan to attend to, you can actually view them on our front page. We'll be covering AllCon Dallas. March 18th, we are also be covering Silicon Valley Comic Con. In March 25th, we will be covering BabsCon this year again, as of the last 2 years since its inception. But yeah, definitely. I have been a little behind on putting the podcast up on our YouTube channel. But since I now have a more beefy machine, I expect some updates on our YouTube channel as well when it comes to various podcasts. But in the meantime, again, thank you, Bart, for joining me tonight.
Always a pleasure to be on your guys' show.
Not a problem. And that's going to do it for us. So until next time, we will see you guys.